All right, guys. So part three, yeah. Okay, part three. Look, I'm already just going through the stages of part one to two to three has already derailed me emotionally, which just shows how bad this game is. That talking about this game derails um how you feel about it. Wow, it's crazy. It's actually that bad of a game. Um, group combat. Wow, awful, god tier awful. Now, some of these things are actually really good, but the fact that they've made some of these things really good, but then managed to atrociously fail on other blatant things is what makes it really bad, if that makes sense. Because the fact they've done something, part of it, really well, above average standard, but then failed on other really obvious things, is actually a bad thing. It's an overall bad thing by a margin. So let's talk about the first step, which is combat. Now, look, I understand that this game was built as a mobile game, tab target, auto combat, auto pathing, auto questing, auto, pick up your nan, auto take her to shops, buy the milk, carry it up the stairs for everything auto. Like, we get that, and I get that. So I do have a certain level of sympathy towards the development team in the sense of that they were told to make one thing and then they were told to make another on the foundations of that other thing that was completely different, which is it's why it will never succeed and they will never find success in doing it unless they are actively right now having 20-30 devs sat in a room rebuilding the combat system from scratch, from the bottom up, which, if you look at Ashes of Creation, now they might not have the resources or the ability of, let's say, the team that this game has. I don't know, but if you look at Ashes of Creation, they've taken like 10 years. I've gone a whole generational decade in the time it has taken them to go from disabled ragdolls that are walking around an oblivious map to semi-disabled ragdolls that are throwing balls of fire. Okay, so if that's anything to go off in the industry, a complete rebuild of a combat system, it is not coming anytime soon, guys. Now, I will say, like many other people have said, the way that they've managed to adapt it from how it was a year ago to how it is now is commendable. It is a success in that sense. But they will never, ever, ever, ever make it to what we want it to be. People like the Lazy Peon or, I don't know, like other guys, right? Maybe Shroud or whatever, like they might sit there and think, oh, I'm hoping that a year from now, this combat will be better. That melee combat will make sense in this game. It won't. Okay. The core design construct, if think about this from a marketing term, guys, a game design sense, this is why, look at people like the Pirate Software, like when he makes a video and he's like, hey, make this plan, you get a piece of paper and you got to write down your core design, your rules, the principles, what you're actually going to do and build outwards. And the reason you do that, like look at League of Legends, how people say oh, it's got spaghetti code, or old, RuneScape never changes. It's because the core principle is your bedrock and you build on top of that. If you put bedrock on top of, let's say you've got the bedrock, which is, it's a mobile game which has auto everything, and then they've built out from that, and now they're trying to put bedrock on top of that, which is action combat, and they're trying to expand out from that. What happens in that scenario? Over time, the bedrock on top of the expansion rubble caves in, the bedrock sinks because it's deteriorating everything underneath it, okay? And it connects with the other bedrock, and that's why we have bedrock all in one spot of the planet. Do you understand? Maybe that's not scientific, I don't know, but you get what I'm trying to say, guys. So let's talk about it, okay? Combat, it's trapped in the middle ground, okay? Yes, it is tag target, but in every other way, it's trying to be action. So, it's sort of like, you know, it's like the woman, or no, that's not fair. It's like the person that is a 5 out of 10 and puts on a certain haircut, a certain beard trim, a certain set of clothes, a certain makeup combination, goes out to the club and tries to have the attitude and the ego of a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 individual. Like, you know, like, it isn't that, and it's never going to be. When you get home with it and you spend all day with it, you quickly fucking realize it ain't gonna be 8 or 9 out of 10, and you've been scammed. And this is exactly what this game is going for. I think it's going through happening. I actually think it's happening right now. I think right now, in the very making moments of this video, I think the community is waking up to the fact that this game is a giant scam. It has lots of pretty visuals, lots of this, lots of that, but in every sense of what an MMORPG is, it completely fails, and it tries to use its successful elements of the game, you know, high FPS, loads of people on the screen, or, you know, the fact that it's free to play or whatever, right? It tries to use these things to cover up the fact that it's a scam game. And look, if this game came out as a mobile game or a tablet game or an app store game, I'd have loved it. I'd have played it every day, and I probably would have spent thousands over the years on a game like this, because it would have been that revolutionary. And I will cover this in my last video, but yeah, we'll get to that point. So yeah, combat. It's not a great tab target system. I've seen people say that it's as good as World of Warcraft. No, it's not. Don't kid yourself. That's a very low bar to set, okay? World of Warcraft's tab target system was foundationally developed, what, 2 decades ago, 2.5 decades ago, and they've managed to sort of like micro update it with the modern times, and stuff like that, with animations and, you know, movement of camera and stuff like that. So like, it's, even if that is an okay or a good tab target system, it's like, you know, it's acceptable. I don't think that if you're comparing yourself to a game that made that system or built the core foundations of that system 20 odd years ago, and you're still not as good as that system, that's not a success. That's a failure. Okay, the action combat, we don't even need to talk about it. That's a failure. It shouldn't even exist. Either be an action combat game or be a hardcore tab target game. Be one or the other, okay? You cannot be in the middle. You know, you cannot be, when it comes to combat in an MMO, you cannot be a jack of all trades. You have to stand and die on something singular, okay? Black Desert Online, it is a combat action, fast-paced action game. That's what it dies on. It doesn't care about PvE, it doesn't care about raids, it doesn't care about free-to-play, pay-to-win. Don't care what you think about it. We are the best action MMORPG. Play it or don't. That's what they fall and die on. And like, that is why it's a successful game, because there's always going to be a certain amount of people that will play that and will pay for it, because it is the best at that. But this game is good at neither. Okay, it's acceptable, it's serviceable, but considering the amount of experience and past knowledge that they can draw on from all the other games that have succeeded and failed, it's not excusable in this day and age. It's just not. The group combat, right? Let's talk about the group combat. The entire game is built around the fact of group combat. Guild versus guild, 70 versus 70, boonstones, world bosses, PvP world bosses, open world dungeons where you can group and then be engaged in, you know, open world PvP. Like, it's all built on that, right? That's fine. That's what it's trying to die on. That's saying, hey, we are a group combat PvP endgame focus game. We don't care about anything else, really. That's what we're going to stand and die on. So, okay, let's stand and die on it, you know, Throne and Liberty. Let's analyze it. So, group combat in this game is probably singularly one of the best and worst things I've ever seen in an MMORPG, okay? To the point where it deterred me from joining a guild and even trying to get into that aspect of the game. Because I just thought, what is the point? I'm looking at other people doing those things and they're getting no joy out of it. Like, look at Shroud. When he's in his little group play, right? All of them whales or pay to win or whatever the hell you want to call it. They've all spent money or they're good at the game. They're all heavily geared. And they go into a group fight scenario, and apart from that one time where they got spanked, what's happening? Like, there's no mega joy on their faces. A majority of people are like, oh, this melee is cancer, I don't like enjoy playing it. And then other people are just like, I'm shooting AoEs and getting kills. Like, there's no established joy or connection to that. It's just, that's just the way it is. It sort of connects to user interface, user experience. How can you design a game that is so well optimized? It makes me feel like they probably stumbled on the optimization aspect of this group, you know, loads of people on the screen. I feel like they must have like stumbled on that by accident in like a coding glitch where like they did something in the code that they were like, oh, we didn't mean to do that, but the game runs really well and oh, it actually works. Like, oh, well, we'll keep it in then. Because how can you do that so perfectly? And yet, when it comes to every other aspect of that system, it's actually so bad. Like, imagine I've got hundreds of people on my screen and I've got green bars, I've got red bars, I've got overlapping bars. I can't see singular players. I can see guild, but I can also see guilds that aren't in my alliance, but I can see guilds that are in my alliance, not in my alliance, that are hostile, but not hostile because they're in my alliance, but they're not actually in my alliance. And I can't see other people. All at the same time, you're saying I've got to go hit a boss or protect an area on the map. Got to listen to my shot caller. Got to do this. Got to do that. But are you insane? If this is your key aspect of your game, right? Large-scale group combat. It should be the cleanest, simplest, most easiest system to interact with. Okay? When you think about Black Desert Online and its action combat system, it is simple, easy to understand, hard to master, very high skill ceiling, yes. But the grasping of it, move around, attack, aim, attack with your skills, combinate your skills, you know, like, it's not hard. It's very easy. And even when there's a load of people on your screen, you still understand in your head what to do and what is going on and what to try and not engage with. When I'm in group combat scenarios, right, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Okay, there's hundreds of people on my screen. I can't see who I should be targeting, who I shouldn't be targeting. I can't target anyone anyway because tab target don't even work. Like, tab target is like having T-Rex arms. It's like wanting to hug your girlfriend across the room, but you've got T-Rex arms. It's like you've got the heart so much that I really want to click you and I want to, you know, fucking do something, but I cannot do it. And even if I do magically click on you, it turns out that another invisible player is overlapping your model and I've clicked on them and now I'm attacking a fucking healer that's got 20,000 HP or whatever, right? Like, it's so stupid. It's really, really poorly designed. They've put no thought into it, okay? It's a scam of a system, scam of a game. Group PvP based, and yet the group PvP is probably the most undigestible, unexplained part of the game. Visually distracting, you can't understand it. You know, functionally not explained. Where in the game does it explain to every player in the game, no matter what their skill level is, the importance of stats? Not how stats work. Like, yes, we can all click on stats and be like, hey, this is your stat page, right? It doesn't even have this open by default, but it doesn't explain, like, you know, attack protections, okay? It's got these little boxes, but you've got to think about the mindset of most players, like, you know, from a marketing behavioral point of view. Like, most players, most human beings, like, you know, like, you don't think about the elements that are underneath the rug carpet of your car in the body element. You don't, how many people pop the hood of their car and know how the engine works? Like, people don't subconsciously or even consciously do that anymore. And as a game designer, you cannot allow such a critical system to not only be not well explained, not be put in the path of a player as a teachable system, but also to be functional in the sense that it makes sense that, hey, If you're this and you want to do that, you need to get this. Why are we all living? You know, it's really ironic because, like, think about it. I actually hate content creation around telling you how to do things in a game. Like, a classic one is like Call of Duty Warzone. Like, hey, take this attachment, take this gun, take this scope, use this, use that, and you'll have the most perfect gun. Like, I hate that. It takes all creation, it takes everything out of the game, right? All of the personal choice, etc. But in this game, it's actually necessary. Like, I'm sure that anyone watching this video, or a vast majority of people in this game right now, everything that they're doing right now is based on a video that they watched about, hey, do this with your blue gear, don't do that with your purple gear, make sure you have this stat, don't pick that stat. Like, why are we having to be taught by people that played a version of the game? Why is the game not self-explaining itself, you know? So yeah, that's a sort of rambly video. I'm getting angry as we go, like, Jesus Christ. That's a rambly video to sort of covering the combat, the group combat. Look, I could go more in depth, but I'm not trying to be in depth here. All I'm trying to convey in these videos, guys, I just want to convey that this game is bad, okay? It's not a good game. If you have fun playing it, keep playing it. Ignore what I'm saying. Dislike the video. Put a hateful comment. Call me an idiot. But, you know, all I want you to do is just think about these things. Like, you don't have to agree with me. It's completely fine if you don't agree with me. In fact, if you don't agree with me and you have an argument for why you don't agree with me, and your argument is correct, I'll happily say, you know what? Your argument's correct. I'm wrong. I'm not here to be right or to sound like someone who's right or that you should listen to. I just want you to think about these things for this game and the next games that you pick. Because the more people that are aware of these kind of, you know, marketing things, consumer behavioral things, like with what they're doing in their lives, like, the more aware you are of those things, the less effective they become. And the less effective they become, the more they have to work on it and have to think about it in their design and foundational stages, which then, you know, think about like the Assassin's Creed drama with Ubisoft. You know, they didn't think about all those things that the society is thinking about now and doesn't like at the start of it. So now everyone hates it, and now the company's like getting buried or whatever. Like, you know, like, this is what I mean. Like, we need to spread that mindset to all things, not just genderism or whether a samurai is the right racial culture type, like, of a samurai. Like, you know, apply it to everything. Your user interface. Why does it want me to clicking these red buttons? You know, guild combat. Your game is built on guild combat, but I can't fucking see anything. You know, like, think about these things, guys. Put value on them, because if you value them, they will value them. And if they value them, we might actually start getting better MMO games. So yeah, that's this video, guys. We're getting towards the end now. We're going to talk about guild content and possibly lose it in the next video, but maybe just guild content, try and make a short one. All right, let's go.